Welcome to the next video. Today, I want to chat to you all about rituals for success. I often get asked this question about what are some of the rituals that I do each and every day that help support myself and my business to succeed. And now I'm going to share with you quite a few of them today, but I don't obviously do all of them all the time. Otherwise, I'd probably get nothing done. But there are definitely some times where I will reflect on some of the rituals that I'm doing and change them up a little bit to support what it is that I'm trying to create in my business. So I want to share them all with you so you have them, but then you need to decide which ones you would like to adopt for you, and then just start implementing them into your ritual, your current routine, and then see how that impacts your business or life. So the first one is prioritizing the hard stuff. The hard stuff is usually the stuff that helps you progress quicker. So often we will put the bigger hard stuff off, or put it towards the end of our to-do list. And then what happens is we work through all of the dopamine that we need in order to have conscious problem-solving thought. And we then are exhausted and don't want to do the hard thing. So dopamine is a chemical in our brain that we utilize to use our willpower to basically think things through, to consciously solve problems, to be creative, and to make decisions. So we're utilizing it all day, every day, but we only actually have a small amount of dopamine stores in our brain per day. And the only way to replenish them is through exercise, through eating protein or chocolate, with coffee, or with sleep. So it's important that's why I always like to do a workout in the afternoon to get my dopamine stores back up, and then I can continue to work if I need to. But you don't have to do that, but it's just being conscious of the fact that if you're using up all of your dopamine stores in the morning, doing all these other things, when it gets to doing the hard thing in the afternoon or later in the day, you can feel like you don't have the energy for it. And that's because your dopamine stores are running low. So what we want to do is we want to eat the frog, right? I know there's so many books about this, about actually doing the hard thing first. Not only does it actually help you build resilience and teaches you that you can do hard things, but it also stops the mind chatter, right? How often do we have one big thing, like maybe it's a phone call that we need to make, or a video we need to record, or an email that we need to respond to, or whatever it might be, and that we build it up in our heads to be so big that before we know it, it's this big ass scenario that we're literally like, we don't want to do that. And we don't want to move, like our body and our brain do not want to move towards pain. Pain is dangerous, so we will actually avoid it. Whereas if we don't indulge that thought chatter and we just get it done, it's over with. And the amount of times that this has worked for me is just phenomenal. Anytime that I'm hesitant to do something, I ask myself, like, is this one of those hard things that I know is going to actually strengthen me? Then I will take that action and do it, and literally just shut off that chatter. I don't listen to it. I just go, nah, we're going to do it, bite the bullet and get it done. Yeah. It honestly helps to support you and also conditions you to be able to push through adversity, overcome things when they're hard, and create resilience. Okay. The next one is making sure you're conscious of what it is that you consume. So being mindful of injecting really good things into your brain. Otherwise, it'll just be consuming everything else that you put into your brain. So it might be social media, maybe it's crappy TV shows, maybe it's the news. Like if that's all that we're consuming and then doing our work, we're never going to progress because we're not shifting much in our brain. So making sure that you're reading and listening and upskilling in those different areas, right? Up-level your knowledge, which will actually up-level your awareness. Honestly, anytime that I feel like I'm stuck or hitting a plateau, or, kind of feeling a little bit not creative and just stuck, I always pick up a book, put on an audio book, put on a podcast, like something that's actually going to help inspire me, which will then trigger new creative thoughts and then put me back into momentum. Yeah. So it's one of those core things. And I think there's so much research around this. There's actually statistics, which I don't have today because I'm not a statistics girl, but statistics around people who read and the impact that it has on their businesses, but also successful people read at least 20 to 30 minutes a day. So I try to consistently read. Now, it's not every single day, because my brain's sometimes a little bit fried, but making sure that you are consistently at least injecting really good information into your brain so you're up-leveling your knowledge and awareness. The next one is mental rehearsal. So I use a couple of different things for this, either scripting or visualization. I'm going to share with you below the video one of my future-paced visualizations that you can utilize. It's an audio that you can just listen to, and it helps you think about the future. Okay, so it helps you play out different scenarios into the future of exactly the way you want it to go. Now, mental rehearsal, I feel, is one of the most underrated yet most powerful tools to help shape your reality and to help support you in moving into doing those hard things, because you're literally creating pictures and imagery in your mind, and you're creating this experience of what your brain is going through, that it doesn't know the difference between real and imaginary. So if you're playing out the scenario exactly the way you want it to go, you're building confidence, you're building competency, and you're building a safe space, right? So your brain's like, oh, the mental rehearsal is almost creating a space as if we've already done it. So then you feel safe. It helps to calm your nerve. It's honestly so good for anything. So anytime I have something important coming up, anything that I'm working towards, maybe it's a launch, an event, anything that I want to go well, I will mentally rehearse it. Okay. So 2 or 3 times a week, each morning, 2 or 3 times a week in the morning, instead of my meditation, I will choose a visualization instead, and I will mental rehearse something that I want to go well. Yeah. So 2 or 3 goals that I have in mind that I'm wanting to achieve, I will mentally rehearse them actually happening. It's so powerful. So honestly, adopt that as one of your first ones if you haven't already. The next one is practicing positive emotions and choosing intentionally how you want to feel. So I do this with my clients. I share with them an emotional wheel, and I ask them each morning to begin with to choose a positive emotion they want to experience that day, and set that intention to actively choose to generate that feeling. Because often we think that our emotions control us, but we're in complete control of our emotions. So if we're actively practicing negative emotion day in, day out, like frustration and annoyance and disappointment and failure and like all the negative stuff, or anger or sadness or guilt or fear, like if we're going into all of these negative emotions regularly, we're literally creating a pattern that our brain is automatically following and becomes on autopilot. It just automatically goes straight to that. And we have our own emotional home. So where your emotional home is, if your emotional home is despair, struggle, disappointment, anger, sadness, that you will always go back to that. It's automatic, right? It's like an autopilot. So we need to actively choose to practice positive emotions. So we want to go, well, how do I want to feel today? And if I was to generate that feeling, whether it's joy or fun or excitement or happiness, we want to generate that feeling in our body to start to activate that as the emotional home. Yeah. It's honestly one of the most powerful things that you can do. And you can do it as easily as just remembering a time when you felt that way. Generate that feeling, expand it, and then move into your day. Yeah. It works the same with abundance, but I'll go into that in the manifestation video. The next one is prioritizing growth, courage, and leadership. If you know what you want for your future, and if you don't, please define it. You've got to define it, and you need to know what it is that you want and how you want to be and who you want to be. And what is it that you need to prioritize in order to achieve that? So for me, it's courage, growth, and leadership. And I actually take a moment each Sunday to score how I went throughout the week in prioritizing that. Because otherwise, life just takes you, right? Like you just end up going down the same thing, and before you know it, weeks have gone by and you're like, oh, there was that thing that I was prioritizing weeks ago and I've stopped doing it. So it's important that we start to take stock and we check in with ourselves and ask ourselves, am I fully living into my fullest potential? And I do that every Sunday. I check in and I go, where have I prioritized courage this week? Where have I prioritized leadership? Where have I prioritized growth or productivity? Yeah. Or certainty. There's so many things that you need to think about when it comes to the life that you want to experience, but you need to ask yourself what you need to prioritize in order to get there. And the more that you prioritize those things, the quicker you will get to where you want to go. Not only that, but you'll feel amazing, because every human being evolves and loves growth. Like every human being wants to grow. That's why boredom exists, right? So if you are growing and you are challenging yourself and you're having courage and you're leading throughout the week, you feel amazing. I guarantee it. So the more you prioritize it, the more likely you are to follow through and create that existence that you want to experience. And then the piece that goes with it, obviously, is checking in with your goals. If we are only checking in with our goals once a month, then we're less likely to actually achieve them if we're checking in with them regularly. So I do that again. I set goals on a Sunday, and then I check back in with myself again on the next Sunday. And I always check in the middle of the week just to see where I'm at and how am I going with that, and what are some of the action steps or the tasks that I need to complete in order to achieve those goals. Yeah. So checking in with yourself and checking in with your goals. The next one is saying yes. Right? So if you really hesitate with challenging yourself and choosing courage, what are you saying yes to and what are you saying no to? I would love for you to ask yourself and literally like check off, what are you currently saying yes to and what are you currently saying no to? I did this with a client recently, and she went through and went, I want you just to literally write down a list of all the things you're currently saying yes to. She was like, well, I'm saying yes to switching my alarm off and going back to sleep. I'm saying yes to putting my clients' needs above my own. I'm saying yes to servicing my clients at the best of my ability. So there's some positives, right? She was also saying yes to, at the end of the day, instead of actually working out, she would go sit on the couch and then she eats crap and then she goes to bed and she feels exhausted and then the next day starts again and we do it all over again. So it's like, okay, so now we know what you're saying yes to. What is it you're actually saying no to? And sometimes it's like, well, we recognize that we're saying no to opportunities that could actually be positive for fear of whatever. Or maybe we're saying no to those urges to want to move your body. Maybe we're saying no to that good food. Maybe we're saying no to those opportunities of, following up with clients that we actually could possibly love working with. So it's like when you start to look at that and go, well, if I was to score myself each week and go, what am I saying yes to this week? And what did I say no to? We start to take stock. And I don't want you to take this as an opportunity to beat yourself up. That's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to absolutely support yourself in acknowledging where you want to grow and what you're prioritizing, right? Otherwise, what's life? Right? So in that, we set intentions. So we want to then set that intention for the next week of how do I want to show up? Who do I want to be this week? What do I want to focus on this week? And I find that by setting that intention, it honestly just comes by just literally taking the moment to write it down. It just comes true. So set those intentions. And the last little piece is taking a moment throughout the week, if I need to journal any emotions that I feel or any challenges that I come up against. And so by journaling them out and describing how I feel and what I believe the problem is, I'm getting it out of my head, which gives my brain space to actually come up with a solution. And by writing it out, it helps you literally figure out what's going on. And then I would coach myself through that. So I would ask myself, okay, what would I say to a client who's experiencing this? And I coach myself through it. Okay. There's some really core rituals for success. One other one is making success a necessity, right? So prioritizing it. So what are some of your money generating activities that you do throughout the week in order to prioritize that? There's a whole other video that I go through money generating activities. So make sure you go check that out if that's something that you need to focus on. But there's some of my rituals for success. I hope that benefits you.